to the Product for Product podcast. My name is Matt Green. I'm a data analyst and founder of a data product consultancy company called Nimbled. I love everything about data, analytics, automation, machine learning, and more recently I've gotten really involved in product management and making data products for customers. And that's what's really prompted me to help get this podcast off the ground with my co-host, Moshe Mikunovsky.
Hey, Matt. This is Moshe here. And I'm really excited to be here on our first episode of Product for Product. And I'm a product manager. I love talking about product management and also love looking into different products that product managers are using.
Absolutely. That's something that I'm extremely interested in, and really what prompted us to do this show is the growing landscape of product management tools out there. As I've gotten more and more into product management, my background was more into analytics and data. And as I've gotten more involved in the product management space, I just found that there's so many different products out there, from
Mhm.
analytic products to communication, networking, user testing. I just felt like, there's a lot out there, and it can be daunting for someone who is trying to grow in the field, because I know product management as a profession is growing in interest. There's a lot of new podcasts out there. So,
Right.
um, so that was the hope with this show, was to help give clarity to the growing list of tools out there, what you can do with those tools, and just about product management in general.
Yeah, and that's what intrigued me when we talked about this in preparation for to start this podcast, about this idea of talking about products. I've been building software development products for many, many years.
Mhm.
And if you would look at the landscape 10 years ago, there wasn't much. There wasn't a lot of tools that product managers could actually use to do our job. We had different things like reporting tools that you can access the data and get reports. You could do UX designs like wireframes. You could do backlog management with Jira, but we didn't really have a holistic type of product. And many of those products were not really geared to product management. They were more geared to other things like marketing or product development or other things like that. So I actually thought this is a great idea to a podcast, because there are so many products out there, and they are kind of popping up every day, new ones.
Yep.
So my hope in this podcast is also to learn all the products that I'm not familiar with, and find new ones, discover new products, and even new ideas for products. So I think it will be quite a journey for us.
Yeah, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. Because as I got into it and started looking at all the different tools, even you have some of the bigger names out there with a topic we're going to be talking about with product analytics. You have Amplitude, Mixpanel, Heap, Pendo to a degree, and so on and so forth. I know Pendo is a product you use currently. But it was like, well, even though you can get into their sites and you can get into their product, you can use free trials they have. You're still unsure of what the benefit is. And I'm hoping with this show we can not only show the benefits, but some of maybe why this product may be better than this product, and
Right.
help clear up the water for people, because it's like, well, okay, you may use a tool because of the price point, the barrier of entry to it may be smaller. For
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, you may get into it, but I don't know. I want to present information that people can utilize to make the best decision when it comes to what tool they're using.
Right. And we are actually, as we discussed, also preparing for this. We are trying to make this podcast also as a product, meaning we are not sure exactly what will work. We want to get feedback from the listeners and to actually see, is this making sense? because as a podcast, we're not going to have screenshots of how the products are going to look like, or demonstrations, or how they look like. So it's mostly, right now at least, going to be talking about them. So we'll see if that makes sense for the listeners. And the other thing that I also wanted to mention is how we are planning to do that. Because again, we don't know all the products that are there, or we are not users of many of them. So to go and learn every one of them, like you mentioned, it's going to be quite a feat for everyone.
Yeah.
Both to get a license and to learn it and to really find the value in the product. So what we are planning to do is to actually host in different episodes different guests that are product managers, and they are working with a specific product that we want to talk about and learn about. And this way, they will bring from their experience what they do with the product, what is great about those products, what is not so great about those products. And this way, we can actually learn from them. And we're not aiming to talk with any of the vendors of the products, because we don't want to have any bias here towards a specific vendor or a specific product. Even myself, you mentioned before, I'm using Pendo, and if you look online on LinkedIn, some of my writings, I could be quite biased about it because I do like it, but for Pendo specifically, we will bring other users that will talk about it from their perspectives. So we hope that this will be very useful for everyone, and we will all learn together.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the exciting edge here, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and this is really, and like you mentioned, this is a product in itself. And, we're learning daily, how to
Yes.
create this product, and
Yes.
and we're going to be learning along the way. So it's going to be a journey
Yeah.
in multiple aspects. So, but I think what that is, what that presents to the audience is going to be something interesting, because I do listen to a lot of shows, and a lot of shows do have a bias. They have someone on there who, is promoting the product, and they're talking about all the good stuff about it, and they're
Right.
talking about the landscape in general. I mean, what their market is and who their users are going to be. So it's not completely a sales pitch, but they're not like, well, we maybe don't do this so well, or maybe our competitor might do this really well.
Of course. Yeah.
And something coming from the analytics space, there's a lot of partnerships, and there's a lot of connection between different companies when it comes to that. So I'm curious to learn more about the partnerships between these products, or whether there is partnerships, or whether there is
Oh,
whether there is some obviously there's competition for the
mm-hmm.
market, but I'm wondering whether they are trying to serve a particular user, or whether whether a better user is served by their product over someone else, or vice
Right.
versa.
Yeah, that will be interesting to learn if there are any specific personas or type of products that might work for one type of user or product where others don't. There's definitely a lot that we can learn about it. And you mentioned about how we learn every day right now about the products for podcasting. Maybe eventually it will be one of the categories we're talking about if we see that a lot of product managers are creating podcasts. So if that's going to be a useful category, because this is how we are planning to break down those episodes by basically themes of categories, where we have quite a bit of categories in product management. Like we mentioned product analytics, and this is the first one we're going to tackle. And so we will talk about it shortly, but we have a list of other type of products, like products that are creating in-app messaging, and products that are collecting feedback about the product, road mapping products, backlog and agile boards, A/B testing and experimentation, design, user testing, even productivity and communication between people. So there is quite a bit of these themes. So, and in each one of those, there is quite a bit of products. Some of them we know, some of them I'm sure we will find through this discovery. Some of those products we are not aware of. And we hope that this structure is going to be helpful for our listeners.
Yeah, I like the format because it does give opportunity to say a listener is interested in a particular if they're working on a particular user testing
Hmm.
project, and maybe the podcast will be geared towards them for that series.
Hmm.
But at the same time, they may be interested in product analytics. They may not have been exposed to it where their role is.
Hmm.
So it not only gives them information about what they care about, but something they may not know about already. So
Right.
I think that may be of real interest there.
For sure. And these days there is also this growing team in or position in product teams, the product ops.
Hmm.
And a lot of the things that product ops are doing is the tooling and enabling the work of the product managers. So it might be that the product managers in some places are not the ones that made the decision about which product to use. It's more the product ops that did that, or
Hmm.
they're responsible for that, and then the product managers are using these products in their daily work. Or if you don't have a product ops, and most of us don't have product ops, you might have been involved in the decisions of which product to use. And I'm sure you've been involved in some decisions like that. I've been involved in several of these,
Hmm.
looking into the competitions of what's available out there, trying to put together some comparison between them, talking with referral users, doing all of that. And it's quite a lengthy process to do that. So maybe we hope that some of the information we will provide over here will help with that.
Right. And that's yeah, and that's a point. And hopefully, people in the audience they will have had a choice about what product they're using in their enterprise or their business. But from an analytics space, I know a lot of people are just using the tool the enterprise supports, and they may not have the capabilities to use products outside of what IT is approved for use. So,
Mm.
I'm curious what with all these new products that are coming, new tools for product management coming into the space. I'm curious whether that competition to whether okay we don't have anything at all. I think a lot of these companies probably have some legacy system they've been using,
Mm-hmm.
um, not for product management but for just for reporting in general. And I'm wondering with all these new products coming online, whether it be a communication, whether it be analytics or whatnot, whether people have that freedom to vet these different businesses and figure out which one is the best. So maybe you're right. Maybe this show will help kind of guide them in a particular direction. Maybe not steer them in one, but maybe help provide additional feedback.
Right. Excellent. So, do you want maybe let's dive into our first theme of what product analytics is all about?
Hmm.
Great. So this is our first theme, as we mentioned, and we are going to bring several guests in the next few episodes that we're going to talk with them about different products that are for product analytics. But before that, what we wanted to basically bring out is what is it that we know about product analytics and what is it that we are looking for a product analytics product before we even talk about any specific one. So in general, let's start with that. What is product analytics?
So
Yeah.
I think product analytics itself is all about gaining insight into the patterns of data. So when you mix that with product, you're hooking those two worlds up. You're saying, and that's what's so exciting about it. Because I having come from the analytics world and you're in the
Mm-hmm.
product world, it's
Mm-hmm.
like the meshing of these two exciting realms. What better to improve your product and improve your customer experience than to understand directly what your customers are doing? And analytics does that. It tells you exactly what they're utilizing, what they're clicking on, tracks their movements throughout the app. So, it's all about gaining those insights that you don't normally get uh, just on the top surface, or you don't normally even get through customer interviews. And that's what product analytics is to me.
Yeah, so you brought a lot of great things in there related to product, and I do agree that it's quite exciting the mesh between product and analytics. But I can be very honest here that when I started product and even before when I developed software, the only analytics we would look at were just the database, what is in the database and how many records were created and how many transactions were created and stuff like that. So we definitely didn't have this understanding of how users are using the product. And that's the why we need these product analytics, because we needed to be able to understand how the product is being utilized, understand what is working, what is not working, which features are being ignored or people are getting stuck, they cannot get anywhere, and stuff like that. Because our end result is that we want to build a product that people will love and will be able to use, and not just a product. So that's really the importance in there. What are the products that are available out there? So we mentioned also before a bit. You mentioned Mixpanel and Amplitude and Heap and Pendo, but people are still using like Google Analytics. I know many people are using that, and then there are other products out there. We of course, we will not be able to review all of them, and we also have to find the right people to share this information with us. So we might be cover a few of them, and then later on when we grow the podcast, we might bring even more. So it's going to be limited to several products. But what would you expect in a product analytics system? Like just either from your experience or from your just expectations. If you would have want to find a product analytics, what would be your expected
features in there?
Features, results, outcomes from that?
Obviously, the ability to track users within your application, I think would be a really, obviously a helpful feature. And I think probably most of them have that. Because being able to track where they're going and inside the app, and how long they're in a particular page or field, would be really interesting to know. The segmentation of users would be really beneficial to understand their location, personalized data, but not on the. It's going to be more of probably aggregated to understand, like, okay, are people in a particular state or area using it more frequently, and what time are they using it? Kind of a timestamp to understand that, depending on your tool.
So these are the basics of how where people are and stuff like that. But every system, every product that we're developing will have its own specific features. So and on the specific personas. So I would expect also that a good product analytics system will be able to tell to differentiate between those, so I can get insights about my specific type of users.
Yes, exactly. I want to be able to tell my users apart and be able to give them, if I want to give them personalized experiences, depending on what my product is. And like when it comes to a data product, like, with my company Nimble, I find within the data analytics space, there's a gap between, I made this dashboard for someone and I'm trying to get someone to use it, but I don't know if people are using it, and I don't know if you can spend a lot of time on something and you don't know if they're using it, and you don't know why they're not using it. And so I think that's where the product analytics space comes into it. So yeah, I want to be able to personalize stuff for people, and that maybe A/B testing is something in there to be able to be able to say, okay, like, if I present this to group A and then present something else to group B, what kind of different feedback am I getting?
So you're talking about product analytics for experimentation in the product.
You're right, yeah, and that's kind of the scientific side of me. I mean, that's that kind of I'm kind of doing research to figure out, and that's where the personalization comes into it. I can't talk to all these people directly, so I'm going to study their data through using a tool that can drive those insights, because that's what I'm going to want from my product analytics tool. I'm going to want it to spin those up for me. Okay, like you study my data. tell me what direction, because at the end of the day, analytics is only valuable if you do something with it. If you don't do anything with it, then what's the
Why
point
bother?
what's the point?
Yeah,
Why bother, right? So,
yeah, yeah.
so I want actionable intelligence, and that's
Hmm.
what I'm looking for in a product.
Yeah. Now, some of the other things that I would look into a product analytics specifically, and maybe go back to your first point, is I want it to be explicitly based on my features and my field and my domain of the product. So not so much like just a URL or the whole page. I want to be able to be flexible about it, that I can tell the product this is feature A and this is feature B and this is feature C. And also, if I have several, sometimes you have in a product multiple places where you can do the same thing. So I can tell it, all of these items are the same product, the same feature. So this is a more of again, similar to what we said before about being able to segment based on my users. I want to also get the analytics based on my feature, so I don't have to do a translation in my head or some other way. Oh, if the user went to this page, that means they use this specific feature,
Yeah,
or something like that.
exactly. There was another
Mm-hmm.
there was another point with there was another metric that I know of, to where if someone visits your site or visits your page, or they stay on a page for a long time, there's a question. Okay, they were engaged. Can you say that person was engaged with your product? I think you mentioned it earlier, where they hung up on your page, not being able to get their question answered.
Right, if they get stuck, you
Yeah,
want
they
to
get
know
stuck, and
where
that's and
people are getting stuck. Mm-hmm.
exactly. And like, we've all been there. We've all gone inside an app, and you're like, well, what
Yes.
am I supposed to do here? People's attention span is getting smaller and smaller by the day. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, well, if you can't answer my question quickly,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go somewhere else. There's a lot of things on the market here I can go,
Right.
and
No,
so
there are.
that's what I'm
Mhm.
looking for too.
Right. There are different products that are solving it in different ways, actually. So if we're looking at how people are behaving and where they got stuck, you could have it with data analytics like a funnel or a path, and then
Hmm.
you see most of the people don't go through the funnel that you thought they would go through, or
Uh,
you see where they come from or where they're going to. But other solutions could be like a recording. So you have products that are creating a video of the user using the system, and then they might create some heat maps of multiple users. It's a bit different approach. It does give you a different way to solve that problem, but it might be a bit more tricky to understand a lot of users at once rather than one specific user.
right. That's a good point too.
Yeah. So product analytics is really about understanding many users at the same time, I would say,
Hmm.
and and really getting a quantitative insights into the usage of the user.
Right, and yeah, because that's a good point, because you want to have your product adopted by a single user. You want to give them a good experience, but you have to have it adopted by a larger group of
Yeah,
people
of
in order
course.
to be profitable. So
Exactly. Of
so
course.
you have to know not only the one cow, but you have to know the entire
Right.
herd. So
Exactly.
in order to be successful, so you
Yeah.
got to have a
Yeah.
balance. So that's a good point.
Yeah. Now, a couple of other things I would expect to see in these products. One of them is ease of implementation. So I want to have something that I don't have to think too much as a user when I
Hmm.
implement this product analytics product. And even if I can reduce the work for my developers, so there is a lot of things coming out of the box, or it's configurable, so I don't need the developers to be involved in that all the time. That will be even better. And then, of course, security, because most of those products, I think all of them are SaaS-based, cloud-based, and you give access to this organization to access the data of your clients, and you don't want them to expose this data or misuse this data, collect the data. So this is really important, the security of these type of products.
Yeah, that's a great point, especially
Mhm.
with data privacy, which I'm extremely happy about it. Data privacy itself has become more and more known to people. People are thinking about how their data is being used, how it's being monetized
Mhm.
by companies, and just having that partnership with whatever tool you wind up using to know that your customer is your most important thing, and their data is
Exactly.
not only protected by you and your cloud provider where you're storing the data, but the people who are consuming it to understand who your customers are. So
Hmm.
that's a great point. I'm definitely looking for data
Yeah,
privacy.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Any other thing that you would expect from a product analytics product?
And I mean, I had a note to measure engagement. I think we kind of talked about that
Hmm.
because I want to make sure the engagement piece is really well done, and that just kind of
Hmm.
goes back to my whole dashboarding analytics space where
Hmm.
you know you can build these products for people, but whether they're going to actually use it and engage with it, they may engage with it the first time, and then they may not come back to it. And I want to be able to measure not only did they come and use it and what were they using in there, but I want to be able to measure what they find valuable out of it.
Right.
And
Yes.
so,
So when we're looking at indicators for the usage of the product, we usually look for. We try not to look at trailing indicators, but to look at leading indicators. And those leading indicators will help us understand why people are churning or why people are coming back, and then try to reproduce the same behavior for people that are not using the system as much to come back again and engage with the system more. And usually we know that once we do that, there is better engagement, better usage, less churn. So all of those are really good points that you're raising.
and
Excellent.
yep,
Mhm.
absolutely. And I'm sure there's some other things that we're not even thinking of,
Yes,
or at
and
least that I'm not thinking of.
yes, and this will probably come in the different episodes. And just to add on that to the listeners, what we're planning to do is after we have the specific episodes for each one of the products, we will have another episode that we basically talk between us about what we learn and kind of summarize the things that we learn across the different products. So we will come back to that, and maybe then we will be much smarter, and that's the idea here.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt, for including me in this as a co-host on this exciting podcast. I'm really excited to continue this, and we'll take it from here with some guests that will come shortly, and we'll learn some products together.
Absolutely. I'm excited about it. Thanks for joining me on this journey, Moshe, and all the listeners out there. I'm hoping that you enjoy the journey with us, and please give us feedback and help us improve along the way. So thank you so much.
Take care.